Under a setting sun on a sweltering summer night, 2 years after her death, Teresa Mayfield's friends and family gathered to remember.
I talk to her almost every day, and I miss those talks.
They took turns talking about the loving daughter, the softball mom, the sweet woman gunned down on that lonely country road. A murder that was still a mystery.
My family will not stop searching or doing whatever it takes to find out who took Teresa's life.
When Scott got up to speak, you can bet people were paying special, close attention.
Yes, she was a loving wife, loving mother, and a loving friend to the community. Yes, she would do anything for anybody at any time.
Having discovered he was not exactly husband of the year, some people still nursed a lingering suspicion, and yet here he was devoted to the care of his children and full of praise for his dead wife.
She did a wonderful job raising these kids. She was the one who got them to practice on time, got them to ball games on time.
When Sheriff Ellis walked up to the podium, he looked at Teresa's mother, Reba, and vowed he'd get justice yet.
Miss Reba, I won't quit until we find out what happened to Miss Teresa.
And in fact, even as he spoke, the sheriff, along with the corporal, were chasing down their first honest-to-God lead in, over a year? Didn't seem like much, really, not at first, just an overheard story from a guy in a bar, something about how he and a friend ran into someone with a gun. Not so terribly uncommon around here, mind you, except it happened around the same time and not very far away from where the murder occurred. So Ellis and Boyd tracked the kid down, and he repeated the story for them.
They were on a dirt road, and they came up on a rattlesnake, and they was trying to kill it, find something to kill it with.
Trouble was, they were plumb out of rattlesnake killing tools, and that's when an SUV just happened to pull up on the dirt road behind them. The driver was a woman in her 40s or thereabouts who, said the young man, offered them a surefire way to dispatch that rattlesnake. Lady in the car had a gun.
Right.
It was a handgun inside a Ziploc plastic bag.
I think she handed him the plastic bag for him to take it out.
And that was a little weird. Why would it be in the bag?
Right.
A peculiar story, for sure. Certain details were a little fuzzy. Kid couldn't remember the exact day, for example, but he did recall with absolute clarity who the driver was, because he knew her name. And here was the most curious thing of all. It was a name you've heard before. Dawn Lavender. Small-town Moundville suddenly got even smaller. Dawn Lavender, you'll recall, was Teresa's friend. The one who said she waited in vain for Teresa to pick her up on the morning of the murder. Great buddies, according to Dawn. But maybe not so much, said Kelsey.
If her and my mom saw each other at games or whatever, they would speak, but I mean, they weren't best friends or anything.
They did go out together a couple of times.
I think my mother did it just because she was bored and wanted to get out of the house.
But when they did get together, at least on one occasion, said Kelsey, it was certainly memorable, and not in a good way. They went out to a local casino one night, she said, and her mother came home stumbling.
I thought she was drunk, and I knew that that couldn't be right because she didn't drink. She didn't even know where she was at. You couldn't hardly understand a word she was saying. She came in, and my dad and I got her and put her in the bed.
How long did she sleep?
She slept for 2 days, 2 straight days.
What did you think about that?
That was very strange. She didn't really remember what happened. She just knew that she had taken some pills, I believe.
How'd she get them?
I believe Dawn gave them to her.
Remember how Teresa was stressed out those last weeks of her life? Night of the casino trip, Teresa told Kelsey, Dawn gave her Xanax, the anti-anxiety medication, just to calm her down, Dawn told her. And it certainly did that. Out like a light calm for 2 whole days.
I looked at her and said, Teresa, you need to stay away from that woman. She is no friend of yours.
And how'd Teresa respond to that?
She said, I've learned my lesson.
Or maybe she didn't, because the morning of the murder, Teresa had arranged to run errands with Dawn, or at least that's what Dawn said. And then it all clicked together. Dawn on the dirt road, a gun in a plastic bag, Teresa's car window down as though she knew her killer. Sheriff Ellis and Corporal Boyd picked apart Dawn's early interview with a suspicious eye. They pulled her phone records. And there it was, plain as day, Dawn's lies caught by cell phone technology.
It painted a clearer picture that Dawn was in the location of Teresa the morning that she was murdered.
But why in heaven's name would a woman who claimed to be Teresa's friend want to kill her? Good question, which perhaps they'd get answered once they accused Dawn Lavender of murder, which they did. She, however, had but one thing to say to police.
She just kept saying that it was wrong, that we made a mistake.